Hello, everyone, Randy here, and we're back again today for another Shop Basics with R.D. Allen, and this time we got an extension cord that met its unfortunate demise while working on my bench vise here. While I was working on the bench vise, one of these pieces, I forget if it was this or one of the top pieces here, fell on the extension cord and literally split it right like that. So kind of surprised by that. Luckily I got my safety flip-flops on, so I'm well protected. But yes, definitely didn't go so well for the extension cord. So we're going to be fixing that this episode. Now, one thing I got to note here, well, maybe two things I should note. Number one, make sure it's unplugged. And the thing I was actually going to note, if let's say it's split more in the middle of it, a couple ways you can probably fix it. You can splice it back together, though I would probably recommend, rather than splicing it back together, just make it two extension cords. You might be better off doing that, because anytime you're pulling on an extension cord, it's probably going to pull apart there. So you're better off just putting some plugs in it. The plug's got, some strain relief on there, so it's supposed to prevent it from pulling out, but you never know. So anyway, let's start by repairing this, and you're going to need a couple tools. You could probably get away with a knife and a screwdriver to do most of it, but ideally you're going to want some wire cutters or cable cutters if you have them, and of course a pair of strippers are going to make it easier. Okay, and just to show you folks a nice close-up of the brake there, that is what it looks like. You can see it cleanly split the black wire, the hot wire, in two. So of course it doesn't work anymore. Surprisingly, it didn't flip the brake or anything like that. So first thing I want to do, we're just going to cut it off. And like I said, no splicing here. We're just going to shorten it up by, I don't know, what is that? Maybe 3 inches, maybe. So finish the job. And we'll set that aside for the moment. What we're going to do next, okay, fine, fall on the floor. We're going to strip back the orange part here. And you want to be careful when you do this. Try not to cut into the wires, so don't go too deep. And what I do, I just cut around a little bit, kind of bend it over, let it split. You can see the one, looks like the green wire there. And just kind of take the knife real lightly, cut it. Same thing on here, work your way around. See it open up there? See, I cut the green wire just a little bit, like very little bit. Not gonna worry about that. Next, let's grab our plug, and we'll take this old wire out. Loosen up the strain relief on the back here. And pull it out. And what you want to make note of is the positions of the wires. Assuming it was assembled correctly the first time anyway, they should be right. Gold with the black, the silver with the white, and then the green with the green wire. Okay, once you've made note of the positions of the wires there, we'll just set that aside for the moment. Let's look how long those are. Looks like they're about there, so we'll just trim that back a little bit. Basically, you don't want to have them any longer than we have to. You want to make sure the strain relief here, or the, I don't know exactly what that's called, but make sure it grabs onto it enough. If you cut them back too far, and I see this happen a lot, when people repair extension cords, they often cut them back too far, and this bit here will grab on the wires rather than grabbing back here on, say, this orange insulation. Although, yeah. So we'll strip these. This is 14 gauge wire. Let's close the knife before I end up cutting myself. Prefer to avoid that. Strip that back. There we go. And technically, again, you could do this all with a knife if you don't have a wire stripper. Just take your knife, carefully work your way around. That works. And we'll just twist them up here. Okay, again, make sure you make note of these before you take them out in case you're not familiar with how they go back together. Again, like I said, black goes on the gold one here. White one goes on the silver one. And green one, well, that should be obvious. Green goes on the green one. Take that out. And these should line up, by the way. When you hold it like that with the green facing down, the black should go on the gold one and should line up properly. Okay, once you got the old wires off there, make sure you put this over it, kind of hold them together. And then we'll start attaching the wires here, so it doesn't really matter which one you start with here. I'll just start with the green one. And I think this is where a lot of people like to leave these wires long because it makes it easier to get them in. But keep in mind that also means you're not going to get a good clamp there, and you start pulling on your extension cord, it's probably going to come apart. Or I'll make sure they're all tight. That should be good. And there's a screw. Lost a screw there somewhere. Typically these only go in one way as well. Looks like it's going to be that way. And look in the back here, yeah, we should definitely have a good clamp. Like I said, you definitely don't want to see any wires coming out here. You want them wires to be all the way in there, protected by the outer sheathing, the outer insulation. Tighten those down, and then we'll tighten these down. Try to kind of tighten them evenly. Looks like go a little more yet, maybe. And there we go. Like I said, that's where you're going to get your strength. If you're pulling on your cord, that's going to prevent it from pulling out, not the screws and the wires inside here. You don't want those being pulled on because those will pull out. It's this part here. And that's why I say it's important you make sure you don't cut this back far enough that you have the wires sticking out through here. You want it grabbing around the outside. Okay folks, so that will wrap up the video here. We got the extension cord repaired. Like I said, it's probably it's maybe 2.5, 3 inches shorter than what it was, so that's not that bad. This extension cord has had a few accidents in its past already. Just one a couple weeks ago, it was hit with a grinder. I think my dad was grinding some concrete, and yeah, I don't know how, but somehow cut through. I think it was the hot wire again that got cut through. This also was part of a longer extension cord at one time. We cut part of it off, used it for something, I don't remember what. And then we made, this is the leftover piece, we made into an actual extension cord. So it's got both ends have been put on it, and this end has been shortened a few times now. And typically too, when you damage an extension cord, at least in my experience, it's usually always, you know, the end you're working on. That's where it gets damaged. So you usually don't lose much, although over time, again, it's probably gonna get a little shorter. But anyway, I should mention as well, again, if you split your cord in the middle, probably better off making it 2. So you have to buy, you know, both ends. Anyway, if folks have any comments or questions about this, be sure to leave them below. Also, if you have any suggestions for shop basics, be sure to leave them below as well. And as always, thanks for watching, and until next time.